Welcome to a place where we combine equal parts science, technology, design, and entrepreneurship. Then we gradually stir in magic to the mixture, and you have the Perception Podcast.
Join us in conversations with design heroes, inspirational thinkers, business leaders, and trailblazers across the globe. On this episode of the Perception Podcast, we have a special guest for all our listeners. Please welcome Vince LaViolette. He is Vice President of Operations at Shelby American in Las Vegas. Since joining Shelby in 1999, Vince has been a staple in the process of automotive development, including R&D, product line management, and even vehicle development with the legend Carroll Shelby. From owning a race car shop and racing in the Winston West NASCAR Series, to customizing cars and test driving for Shelby, Vince is a mastermind when it comes to all things on the road. So buckle up and let's talk shop with Vince LaViolette. We'd like to welcome Vince LaViolette to the podcast. Hey, Vince, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. Great to be here, you guys.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
So, Vince, as you know, I'm a super huge Ford fanatic and a Mustang maniac. We'll get deeper into that a little bit later, but we wanted to start by just kind of hearing a little bit about your history with cars and how you became interested in the automotive world.
Yeah, I've been, I was kind of ruined from a young age. My dad was a motorcycle racer, grandpa was a drag racer, and the other one was a road racer. So pretty much grew up in it, my whole life. I think everything I've done, it's funny when you look back at your life and you kind of figure out, where you're going in life and how you got there. I really had no idea I would end up here at Shelby. I mean, who would ever think that you'd end up in a place like this? And then I realized that my whole life, all the stuff that I've been doing was kind of training me for this job. So when I was younger, I was excited about stuff. I wanted to be a machinist, got into machining, started doing engine parts, motorcycle parts, those kind of things while I was still in school. And then got into another company where I was doing boat engines. I was doing high performance boat engines. So started kind of learning a little bit more about motors and those kind of things, plus helping dad in the garage, building grandpa's motors, those kind of things. So kind of put all that together. And then I decided I wanted to kind of get into the automotive industry, more and more. Started working at custom shops, helping my friend at night doing movie cars down in California, and realized that the design and the molding and the bodywork and stuff was super easy for me. It was just something that I kind of fell into that was real easy. But then I wanted to kind of, get more and more into it. So I learned, chassis work and electrical, and then got into dealerships and started doing dealership stuff, and then got into painting. So I just kind of went, kind of full round, worked my way up from, as a painter all the way up into management to where I started running shops and running dealerships, and just kind of learning more and more and more. I always wanted to learn the next step or the next thing to it. About in 1983, I got into racing myself. I got into Winston West NASCAR and started racing back then. And it was exciting for me. The owner of the dealership was was well-known racer, and I was working on his cars, and one day he says, why don't I give you that car over there? He'd come out to the track with me. And I went out and did that, and I was hooked. I was just, this is what I'm going to do,
Yeah.
So
it gives you a nice adrenaline rush.
Yeah. It was something that was another thing that was pretty easy for me. I actually excelled pretty well in it and did very good with it. And then actually turned it into a career. So having hot rod race car shops, and getting my kids into racing and those kind of things. And it's just kind of evolved from there. My whole life has just been, into automotive and doing those kind of things. I mean, when I was in high school, I had auto shop 2 periods a day, and I was the TA and that kind of stuff. So I knew I was going to be in this business, but I didn't know how far I was able to actually go and where I would actually end up. And that's pretty
Right.
exciting itself.
So you joined Shelby in 1999. How did you become part of that team?
So one of the guys I used to work with down in California called me up one day and he said, "Hey," I moved down to the Vegas area, and he says all the dealerships here are all closing their body shops, and they want a central body shop, and they want me to run it, and I'd like you to come down and be my partner." So I've been living up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, raising my kids up there, and I'm racing up there, and had a couple shops, and I said, I'm tired of the snow. I'm going to come back down. I'm from California, so I like the warm weather. So I says, I'll come on down. I says, but if I go down there, I says, is the shop done? Is it ready to go? And he goes, no, it's not going to be done for about another 6 months. I go, well, I kind of like to work while I'm down there. I says, is there any place to work down there? And he goes, well, I drive by this Shelby place every day. He goes, I'll grab you an application. So he grabbed me an application, and I got it, and I got online. I looked. I'm going, dang, this is the old man's place. And so I put all my racing and fabrication and painting and all my metalworking. When I was up in Idaho, I had a restoration shop, and I'm pretty good with an English wheel and stuff, making all my own quarter panels and fenders and all that kind of stuff. So I put all that stuff on there. They called me right up, and they said, "Yeah, we need you to come down. Carl wants to talk to you." So I flew down, sat down and talked to him for a little bit. And he goes, well, you're the guy I'm looking for. I says, wow. Carol Shelby's looking for me. This is
crazy.
This is
Amazing.
kind of cool. Oh, it was amazing to me. I mean, your heart's going, you're going like, man, this is like the coolest place ever.
Mhm.
But what I realized is I started talking to him, and he's a very humble man, but he's a very stern on, if he asks you to do something, everything is a test. You have to perform. So I remember he says, he goes, well, son, he goes, you want to work for me? And I says, yeah, I'll work for you. He goes, well, what do you want? So I told him. He says, okay. I'm all like, dang, I should have said a lot more. That was way too fast.
Yeah.
So anyway, I told him, I says, well, I got a problem. I says, I got 3 shops going up north. I says, I got a big barn, and I got about an acre and a half full of cars. I says, I got to figure out how to get them all down here. He says, well, I'll give you a couple months to get your stuff together. He says, you best get up and get busy. So I'm like, okay. So, so I went up and sold the house and sold the shops and did all that stuff and got everything down here. And I'll never forget the first day I walked in, and he calls me up, and I walked in the shop. We walked out back, and he kind of showed me around a little bit. And I says, well, what do you want me to do? He says, well, I need you. He goes, I got you for R&D. He says, so he goes, what I want to do is, he goes, I got a problem. I says, what's that? He says, I got these Cobras, 427 Cobras. He says, they're starting to beat me in the straightaways. He goes, I got them in the corners. He goes, but they're beating me in the straightaways. He says, I need something I can bolt on these cars to where I can go ahead and a guy can get beat on Friday, go home on Saturday, put this kid on, come back on Sunday, and you could win him. He says, and I need it to all fit under the hood of the Cobra, and you can't tell that anything happened. Well, okay. Wow. I said, let me look at it. So I looked at it, opened the hood, measured a few things, and I had a few tricks up my sleeve, and I'm going, okay. I says, yeah, I can do that for you. So I go, where do you want me to work? He says, well, I got this shop here. I got 4 shops across the street over there, and I got an engine shop down in Gardena. He said, they're all yours. Go ahead and get busy. So, so I went ahead and got busy, started getting busy, and it was about 2 months before I had everything done. What I did is I put a Vortex supercharger on the front of the motor, set it all down under the hood, made a new carburetor box for it, changed the ignition system on it, did a nice tune, stuff like that. So I got him probably about 80, 90 more horsepower out of this thing. Put him in the car one day and told him, here you go, it's all done. He took off and drove around the block, and he was gone for a while. He came back with this big old grin. He said, "Son, we're building cars." He says, "I like this." So it was kind of neat. That was kind of my first thing. And what I didn't realize at the time, which I did later, was that, like I said, everything was a test. So if you told Carol you could do something and you performed and actually pulled it off, then you were 100% in there. But I've seen a lot of people come through the shop. I've been here 21 years, and I see a lot of people that come through the shop that tell Carol, "Hey, I could do this," or "I could do that," and a month later you don't see him anymore. He was that kind of guy. He's, like you said, he goes, "I made my success by surrounding myself with hot rodders and drivers that knew what they were doing." So that was, that was pretty cool, and to be part of part of the family like that was pretty neat. So, I mean, ever since I started here, I've always given 110%. So it's just, you always give a little bit more. You're always the first guy here and the last guy to leave, and those kind of things, and it's paid off. We're doing good now. We're a company now where we do 700 vehicles a year. The Shelby Mustangs. We do over 1,000 to 1,500 trucks a year of the different style trucks.
Right.
So we've really progressed. And when I started for them, we were doing maybe 20, 30 cars a year. That was it. So we've really come a long way.
Right. So take me through, or take us through, I guess, a day in the life, but I feel like a day isn't enough. Maybe like a week of the life of Vince. So you gotta design, you gotta race to prove that your designs are working well or not. Things like that. So take me through like a compressed week or a compressed month of what goes on.
Yeah. So basically like car design. So car design, usually I'm designing next year's car while I'm designing this year's car, put it that way. So I'm always thinking ahead. I never want to lay all my cards on the table. I know where I want to go, usually with a product. Everything is 3-year cycles, 3-4-year cycles on cars. So when I first start designing the car, I'll kind of do some sketches, get a couple ideas of what I want to do. I go out into, I have a clay studio. I'll go out into the clay studio and go ahead and, start put a car up, start designing the fender, laying it all out, do it in foam or do it in clay, whatever. And then once I get the design I want, then I'll go ahead and, start building, the fenders or the quarter panels or the front end or whatever. But in the meantime, while I'm doing that, I take the base car. Usually we get a car about a year early. I've already got all the 24 cars and stuff, so I'm already testing on those right now. So we've already got everything's pretty much in the can for that. But anyway, so what I'll do is while I'm starting to do the body and everything, I've already figured out what size kind of I want to do with the tires and those kind of things. So that's when the testing starts. So I'll take a car to the track, put a certain suspension on it, and then I'll go ahead and I'll test that suspension. Then I'll go ahead, once I got the spring rate that I want, then I'll go ahead and start doing the shock rates. Nowadays everything's electronic, so I'm able to electronically go ahead and change all the algorithms in it to make it to where the car works the best. So I start doing that. And then the next thing I'll do after that is start working with, now that I got that where I want it, I got kind of a tire size that I want, then I start dialing it in from there. And then I know that the package that I have is going to work good. Start working on the braking, those kind of things. So now that I got the braking and the suspension down, now I know what size tire I'm going to run, so I can go back to the shop and go ahead and finalize the fenders with the tires that I'm using, get all the sizes right. And then I start working on the cooling part of it. So the next thing I do is, since we're out here in the desert, I got a really good track over in Pahrump, which is a Spring Mountain Motorsports Park. and I got a garage over there and stuff, and I'm able to go over and do testing all through the year. So in the wintertime when it's cold, I'll do my suspension and my tire testing. So that's usually the first thing I do. That's why I usually start with that, get all that dialed in. And then when it starts getting hot, I'm pulling 138, 140 degrees off the track, track temperatures. Then I start doing all my engine testing and transmission and those kind of things to start working out the cooling on the car. How much cooling do I need? What size coolers am I going to have to run? Is the transmission going to overheat on this car? Am I going to have rear end overheating problems? Those kind of things. So then I start taking those things into consideration, and then go back to the shop and start figuring on the nose of the car. You know what I mean? How much air we're going to bring in the front of the car, where I'm going to bring the air in, how much splitter we're going to put on the car, and those kind of things. So we start dialing those kind of things in. So now I know that I'm going to run a certain size cooler for the transmission and a certain size cooler for the engine, oil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to design the openings on the front of the car per that. So that has a lot of things to do. What's funny is, when I first started with Carroll, he used to tell me, he says, Vince, he says, I love the way you design my cars. He says, I love what you do. He says, do me a favor. Says never ever put a scoop, a wing, or a hole in one of my cars that isn't efficient. So whenever I'm designing, I'm thinking of that. You know what I mean? I can't have anything that's on there just to be on there. Everything has a purpose. So redesigning the front ends of the Mustangs, the Mustang as a whole is a great car, but there's a lot of things you can do to make it a lot better. So
when you're designing, Vince, when you're
Yeah.
designing, do you sketch? Do you do moldings? Do you use software like CAD? What are your tools when you're in that phase?
So first part is just some line sketching. And then I bring in a guy, because I'm not the computer guy. I'm a hand guy. I can build you anything out of anything, but when it comes to computer stuff, I'm a little slow. I'm old school.
Sure.
So I bring in a guy, and we do everything in Polygon. So we'll go ahead and I'll say, bring this out here, add this in here. I want to put in this, and I'll sketch out the stuff, and then we'll add it into the car, and then we'll kind of come up with a concept look. And the reason I like doing that is I have everybody from 16-year-old kids that are here all the time with their dads, and most of my crowd, most of my mechanics are pretty young guys. They're all in their 20s. And then all the way up to some of my senior guys in the office, they're 75 years old. So if I can bring that sketch around and get 80% of the people to understand what I'm doing and like where we're going with the car, then I know I'm going in the right direction. Now, a few times I've gone in a few directions, and they go like, well, yeah, that's okay. When they say that's okay, that means they don't like it. So I got to go back to the drawing board, basically. So, we try to evolve things. This year, I'm actually changing a lot of stuff with the car. So I'm changing the look of the Shelby completely this year. So it's time. We've used, the hood designs and stuff like that we've used them up, basically that design. Now it's time to go to something new. So that's just, you're trying to evolve. It's a whole new crowd. The way the kids are nowadays and everything, with the video games and the designs that are, on video games. I mean, a lot of these graphic designers right now, they're coming up with some really cool stuff. A lot of the stuff isn't practical and doesn't work, but it doesn't matter as long as you're on those lines. You know what I mean? My biggest challenge as being a designer is build a car that the senior crowd that we've had for so many years, like, and still build a car that brings something new out for the younger kids. Because if I don't get the younger kids involved, I'm not going to have a business. So that's, we got to think of that all the time. We have to target to the younger crowd. So I'll get a little bit out there with some stuff. This year I'm kind of going out on a limb this year, and I'm getting a little wilder. But I think if I don't do that, I'm going to lose what I have right now.
Mm.
Now, the new movie Ford versus Ferrari came out. So
Hmm.
that is, that opened a whole new thing for me because basically, for the company, what it's done is it's brought the younger crowd into the shop again, what I mean,
Right.
to see
Yep.
exactly what's going on. They're excited about that. And we have the cars down here. We have a nice little museum set up, and it's the factory where we build the cars, and they come in and they actually see what's going on. These are rear wheel drive 850 horsepower cars that you can buy at a dealership. That's big for these kids nowadays. That
Yeah.
drifting is a big thing. That we have a couple drift cars that we do, and we're getting more and more out there in the racing industries.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy and I have been to Vegas a bunch for CES, and we've seen it progress from an electronic show, so to speak, to automotive taking over a huge section of the show. But I've been to
Yeah.
the museum a bunch of times. I probably have in my computer like my wish list. It was like a 2012 Grabber Blue wide body Shelby that I think I grabbed the brochure at the facility there, and I was just like, "This is it." I was probably telling Jeremy on the way home on the flight, like, "This is it. This is the one. I gotta get it. I gotta get it." Um, so just as far as like doing what you guys do at Shelby, you're taking these well, I'll say stock Mustangs, but do you
Mhm.
also do you have plans to do anything with like the Dark Horse or anything else that comes out, or is that something that's completely separate?
Dark Horse is going to be something that Ford is working on.
Hmm.
We usually step up a little higher than that.
Yep.
So, yes, there will be something that will compete with the Dark Horse.
But if someone that was to have a Dark Horse and brought it there and said, "Hey, I need you to make," because they like the lines or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
would you do you guys I guess add
No,
additional horsepower? No. Okay. So it's
no.
literally
Yeah, we don't. We used to do that. It used to be a package thing to where
right.
you would go on ahead and you brought your car in, then you bought a package, and then we put the package on
Hmm.
the car, and they get the CSM number and those kind of things.
Right.
We don't do that anymore.
Okay.
So right now, everything is through dealers. So you would go to your dealer and you would you design, or build your car up the way you want it, type thing, and then
Mhm.
we build the car, and then the car gets delivered to you
Right. Gotcha.
to
Yeah,
the
that's how
dealer.
the last one. That's when I ordered mine. It was at Gowden,
Hmm.
and yeah, I had to order it through them to get it from you guys.
Yeah.
You mentioned
Um,
the movie that came out a few years ago. I'm curious, what were your thoughts on the film? What are some things they got right, and what were some things that they took some license on?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, I'm just going like, I'm looking at the actors going, I don't know if they're gonna be able to pull this off, what I mean? But
Hmm.
actually they did an awesome job. They did a really good job. You know, as far as the storyline, it was pretty close. I mean, Carol was a jokester. He's the kind of guy that would throw bolts over there and steal watches and those kind of things. That's something he did. Him, the way he talked with Ford and stuff. Yes, that was Carol. That's the way he was. Um, Things like him getting in a fight with Ken and stuff like that. No, that's not that's not Carol.
mhm.
But anyway, a lot of the things were pretty much in line. And the thing that was most exciting for me about the movie was it was a car movie, but it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was kind of a lifestyle movie, and kind of about Ken's life and those kind of things. And I think that's what they did the best job on, really, is they told the Shelby story, but it was kind of it was kind of about Ken's life, which was exciting at the time. And that's what gave Carol a lot of notoriety, and kind of let you see how a small company can work with Ford.
Mhm.
What's funny is right now we're probably better with Ford right now than we've ever been. Gary Patterson, our president right now, he's actually moved to Michigan, and he's there all the time because we have projects that we're doing with Ford now that are pretty extensive. And the only way you can really work with a big corporation like that is to be able to walk in the door every day and show your face and keep everything moving, keep the ball rolling, basically. When you're on the phone, you're talking to people, you have a tendency to where when you hang up, you have other things that you have to do. So it's very important that you work together with a company like that. And we've been blessed to where we do a lot of testing. I do thousands of miles a year on track, and Gary does the same thing. So I think we're probably one of the only car companies where the president and the vice president, both are the test drivers for the company. So we always tell everybody who says, yeah, we wear a suit as a president and vice president, but ours has a zipper all the way up the front,
And it's fireproof.
And it's fireproof.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's one of your favorite vehicles you've ever taken for a test drive? It could be Shelby or non-Shelby.
Actually, the new GT.
Oh,
The new GT, I've raced that a couple times, the new GTs. So they're pretty cool car.
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of fun. I just I'm a track guy, so I live on the track. So handling and is the most important thing to me. Handling and braking.
Yep.
Horsepower is always, I always tell everybody horsepower is a secondary.
Right.
You need horsepower when you're not good enough to to wheel with everybody else.
Yep.
But
Well, as you know, we worked on the 2017 Ford GT, I guess we'll call it the prototype. Designing the digital gauge cluster and center stack, and that was our first project, major project with Ford. And that was, when you get a call, just imagine me being a Ford fanatic, and we get a call, and they're like, you got to come to Ford and come look at something we're working on. I almost had a heart attack. And then when I walk in the room and I see this thing, of course it's a very small clay figure. I'm thinking it's the next, Mustang GT, like a new, Shelby, I'm like, could it be the RS? They're doing something with the Focus RS, that was the time frame back then.
yeah.
And then this GT just comes out, and I'm like, oh my God. Jeremy had to like hold me up. I was ready to faint. My legs came out from under me. It was nuts. So when I come visit you, you got to get me into one of those cars, because I've yet to. We sat in the buck of one, but it was just the seats and kind of just the front part. Never got to sit in a real one. I never got to drive it. I don't expect to drive one, but you gotta get me seated in one for sure.
It's amazing. They're amazing cars. I mean, and when you get in with the experienced driver, it's a whole nother world. It's like, wow.
Yep.
I'm blessed. I run vintage GT40s for some of my customers too. I race those also. So they're pretty fun, but that's, go ahead.
What's your most memorable racing experience?
The most exciting, well, I mean, I've had plenty of them. I've had bad accidents, good times, but the coolest thing I've ever done working here, it was totally amazing. So back in the 60s, Ford actually designed an independent rear suspension Mustang back in 65. They started to work with it. They actually gave it to Carroll and asked Carroll if he would dial it in and see if he could make it work. They took it and they actually turned it into a race car. So they started doing testing with the car. They tried to get it on track. They couldn't get on the track. Finally, they got an opening on a track down in California. It was July 8th or something like that, 7th or 8th or something like that was the only day they could get to test. So they went down, did their testing on the car, got it all dialed in, got some good shocks on it, got it to where it actually worked really nice. An independent rear suspension car was unheard of in the day, especially out of a Mustang. So they got that going. Then they decided, let's go ahead and campaign this car. Let's go ahead and take it out. So they took it out. The first race they raced in, they qualified third. They took that and they ran the race, made it all the way to the front, and won first place in the car. So anyway, about 3 years ago, the original Venice crew, which is the guys that built all the original GT 350s for Carroll, They all got back together. They've started their own shop, and they're actually building original 350s again. You know, not originals, but the
Right.
original guys are building them.
Right.
Anyway, so they gave me a call about 3 years ago, and I work with them a lot of time. They say, Vince, they says, I need you to do me a favor if you could. And I said, what that? They said, I'd like you to race one of our cars for us. And I said, sure, you know, because I always say sure when someone asks me to race their car. So anyway, he said, we're going to be doing some testing. And he goes, we're going to go test at Willow Springs. He goes, because that's where, you know, down in California, that's where we originally tested the car. He says, I'll give you a date. So they tried to get a date. Well, it turned out that it happened to be July 7th or 8th. So anyway, it was exactly the same days that they had years ago that they got the car. So I went down, did testing. They did a nice video and everything like that. They had been videotaping the building of the car. We went down, did a full test day. We had 3 different drivers down there. We all drove it, all put our input in it, changed the shocks up, got everything working great on the car. We had a car that worked really nice. So then they said, well, we're gonna go ahead and set up a race. So they went ahead and set up a race. Now I knew nothing of the history of this car. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that they had this independent car and they wanted me to race it. So anyway, we went out to the racetrack, raced. I qualified 3rd in the car. It was a hot day. So we raced the race. I came in 1st place.
Wow.
I had 3 80-year-old men crying, standing up on a podium with me. So excited that we actually repeated history almost 100%. You know what I mean? It was just
crazy.
It was probably the neatest feeling I ever had racing. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Is the feeling of these guys, how excited they were and how passionate they were, and you know, that they actually, you know, did something and did it again. And I was able to be involved in it. So, I mean, being involved in history is just really, it's just something that's really neat. I mean, it's hard to put words to it, but you know, the way you feel, but it's just, you know, and every day working for this company, I feel that way. I'm blessed and I'm very humble. Anybody can come up. I'll talk to anybody, anytime, for as long as they want, those kind of things. I want this company to grow. I remember before Carol passed, I made him a promise. I told him, I said, Carol, I says, I'll make you a promise that I'm going to keep this place going. I want to make sure that your name and your history lives on. You know, I says, that's my goal in life. So everything we do, you know, we got a great team. I say I because, you know, I might put the design together, but you know what? You can't do it without a team. I've got guys that, you know, I couldn't live without, you know, that do these things every day with us. And we get so much done, you know, for a small company, we can get things done so fast, you know, and I'm just blessed to be part of a family like this and part of history like this. It's very humbling. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good, it's a very big similarity that we have with us is, you know, a lot of these larger companies reach out to us because we're a lot faster and they don't have to deal with, you know, we'll call it the red tape and all these other things where they just hire us, we come in, do what needs to get done. And then they're like, man, how do they do it so fast? And part of it is because, you know, again, we have a great team, but we don't have to deal with kind of the politics of everything going on, you know? We're just there to make something specific.
I just think it has to do with being, you know, small and efficient, agile, and just really understanding each other from working together for so long. You kind of develop this shorthand understanding of everybody's intentions and their mindset. So that leads me to my question, Vince, was what are some of the qualities that you look for when you're hiring new folks to bring on board to be a member of the team? How does that process work, and how do you kind of filter out the right ones from the wrong ones?
So we have in Texas, we actually have a Carroll Shelby College. So it's it's an automotive college. So you go in there, and every year we'll bring probably four to six of the college students here, and we'll do an internship with them, and they'll stay with us for about 2 months. And some of those guys will go ahead and take on those guys, put them on the team. Another thing I do is I like to look for younger guys. I really do, because the way that we have it structured here online is you come in and you're basically doing one component, so you'll do, I say one component, I mean like a suspension, or, you're doing interior, or you're doing body, or you're doing brakes, you know what I mean? Those
Mhm.
kind of things. So I can train you, as long as you have a mechanical, as long as you're mechanical, I can train you. But what I do is I usually look for guys that are, that have worked at dealerships or something like that and aren't happy with what they're doing, or just a younger guy. I mean, I brought a kid in to wash cars, super energetic, really good young kid. He started out washing cars, actually started, dumping trash and washing cars. Now he's online and he's doing superchargers, and it's within a year we brought him up. So I like to bring the guys up that are, that are here. But what I mainly look for is just somebody that's energetic, somebody that's going to be here every day. That's really big for me. If you show up every day, that's 80% of it for me.
Yeah.
I'll train you how to do, what to do. And I need somebody that's, that has drive.
Mhm.
There's a lot of guys that'll come in here and they want to come in and be part of Shelby, but they want to sit down and, watch everybody else work. And that doesn't work.
Right.
We got a great crew, and we do something kind of neat here. We work 4 days a week. We start at 4 o'clock in the morning and we end at 2:30 in the afternoon. And everybody goes, why the heck would you come in so early? Because in Vegas, it gets hot.
Right.
And
Mm.
after 3 o'clock, I lose productivity from everybody usually, you know what I mean? If I work 8 hour
Yeah.
days. Another thing is I'm very family oriented. I want to give you a 3 day weekend every weekend if I can. I want you to be home with your kids. If we have any overtime, I'll have you come in on Friday, but I don't want you working on Saturday. I don't let anybody work on Saturday, Sunday. You know, family time is very important. I've just learned that, my whole life, that, how important family is. And that's how we treat our business here. And I think that's why everybody's so happy. We treat them like a family. We do a lot of picnic lunches and, barbecues and those kind of things. And whenever I go to the track, I'll always grab a couple guys and take the guys with us to the track so they know exactly what's going on. Any kind of events or anything, and make sure everybody goes with us to the events so they all can get in the cars and see what they're all about,
Right.
and be excited about the product that you're building. These are, I always tell everybody, these are dreams that we're building for people. This is something that somebody's waited their whole life to get.
Yeah.
So I want you to put 150% into this car. When the car leaves the door here, I want it to be better than it was when it came in. I want it to be somebody's dream, and I want that car to last to where they can give that car to their kids, so
Mhm.
their kids will be excited. So that's just kind of the philosophy we've always had here. It's worked really well.
So I mean, I love what you're saying about the, making the car better for this person who's been waiting all their life, because, there's been times in my life where, I still have my original 1989 Mustang GT.
Mhm.
There's nothing done to it, maybe an exhaust that I smacked on it. But when I got the 2024 GT, that to me was like, I waited my life to get that car.
Yeah.
And when it came, I mean, I literally was crying. My wife's like, are you serious? You're crying because of a car? You didn't even cry at our wedding. I was like, that's a different type of cry. you know but
Uh,
but man, I mean, my son was there, and he's 17 now, so yeah, I want to, right now it's hard to pry I got to pry the keys away from him.
yeah.
I'll give it to him later on in life, but right now it's like, yeah, no, when we go out, you could drive it, I got to be in the car.
Yeah.
So I love that, you guys put your heart and soul into it. Do you guys do, on occasion, with our clients' permission, if we have to have some sort of sequence in a movie, um that they'll be like, hey, can you guys just take pictures of people and put them in, it's just like in the background doing whatever, and we're like, sure. And we'll usually use the team here because it's fun, to be like,
Hmm.
hey, our faces in this clip of the movie. Do you guys
Yeah.
do anything, or do you do anything where you're like, you'll sign underneath the car where nobody will ever see it in like the, the wheel well or something, like your name or something like that. I know on my engine, it's engraved in the name
Yeah.
of the person, but you know, I know there's certain specific like chalk marks and marks that, when a car is all original and it's rolling through Barrett Jackson or Mecum, it's like, oh look, all these lines are still here where the bolts were, stuff like, crazy things that like all
Yeah.
these collectors want. Do you guys do anything like that?
The kids sneak stuff in.
Yeah, that's cool. I love it. That's what makes it personal. So
Yeah, they sneak stuff in. We used to do it when we were doing packages, when you could bring the car to us, so we would build it. We actually had a signing badge on there. So when the tech built the car, if it's a team of techs, both of them would sign the badge and put it's a signature badge,
right,
that they would put under the hood. We kind of went away from that, but we're probably going to bring it back on some of our specialty cars that we're doing right now. The whole thing is, the only thing I worry about is the guys that wash the cars and sweep and detail and do the tires and those kind of things. They don't get to sign it. So I always felt bad for those guys that they were part of the car, but they didn't get to be part of the car. So we kind of backed off on that a little bit, to kind of bring everybody back together again. But the guys, yeah, you'll find them signing their name, under here, under there, sneaking it in. When we did, I remember when we did the GTs back in 6 and 7, we were doing, did a couple thousand of those, and we had all kinds of new techs, working in there. You jack those cars up, you're just going, oh my gosh. They had little signs that they had under there and their names, right. And just all kinds of stuff like that.
I almost want to rip apart like the carpeting and stuff, just to see if I find something in my car. It's like, man, I gotta find something now. It's great.
Yeah, it was
little
funny,
Easter eggs.
Yeah, little Easter eggs, exactly. It was funny. They have a good time, and we never, you don't get onto them. They're having a good time.
Well, I'll tell you, even if I got a certificate, at the end that, maybe the 2 head techs get to sign the, engrave their name on the engine. But if I got a certificate, like this is every single person that worked on your car.
Yeah.
That, that's a piece of history that, it's similar to us with our work, whether it's in tech or in film, people are using these things, and people, I have all my documents from my cars, and I'm a little bit of a maniac, but I would love to have certain things. It's like this person did this person did this, and then you go back in a couple of years and you come to find out that they're no longer detailing the car. They're doing the superchargers now. It's like, wow, exactly. This is great.
There was there's a classic example. The original Macintosh computer, 1984. If you crack the case, inside is all the signatures of the engineers and Steve Jobs, and and all the original creators of the Mac. And that's engraved in the inner case of the original. So yeah, very similar kind of pride and love of the product, and wanting to just have your name part of history.
Well, after this podcast, now Shelby's and 84 Macs are going to go up in value. We're going to go on eBay.
Yeah.
Shoot through the roof, right? Let's get them now before we get
to this one. I touch on the future a little bit, Vince. How do you see the sport of racing evolving in the future, especially as new vehicles like electric vehicles are introduced?
So you guys would be surprised to know that we've been working on electric vehicles for probably about 10 years now. So it's why Carol was still alive. We were, he knew what was coming. And we had a little slush fund that we put together, me and him, and we would, work on, figuring out what was going to be the best and everything like that. Now technologies have changed a lot. But right now, I can't talk too much about it, but I have new technologies that are coming out that are probably going to change a lot of stuff you see in the electric car company right now. So the electric car world, basically. So we want to be, we're working real hard. We've gone all over the world. We've got some new tech we're bringing to the United States. We'll be out like SEMA, CES, those kind of things. You'll see the stuff then. But I want to bring a new technology. I want to bring a new way of doing things. You know, we're still electric, but we just have a new way to do it. And we're able to give you more range, be able to charge your vehicles a lot faster, be able to, you know, put more horsepower, more power down, more torque, those kind of things. So right now we're heavy into it right now. I mean, we're just, I'm, I have probably 3 meetings a week on it. I'm building prototypes right now, and we're getting ready to just blow people away with some neat stuff. So, you know, like I say, you know, I was like I told Carol, I want this company to be the best, and I want it to be at the forefront of all the new technologies and stuff. So, we do what we have to do to be there, and it's just it's an exciting thing that we're doing right now. It's exciting, and the things that are coming out is, you know, it's really hard to talk about something you can't talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's
we get,
important to embrace innovation, embrace the change rather than to fight it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to fight anything like that. And you know, I'm I've always been in the mindset too that I don't know everything. If I don't know something, I'm going to find somebody that knows. I want to learn something new every day. That's my goal. You
Mhm.
know, if you can learn something new every day, then you know you're going to keep up. When you start getting static and say, no, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, you know, I know the way it is. You can't be that way, and your company will never grow. That's
Right.
just the way I think. I need to do things that are new. I need to go out there and try stuff. You know, it's, I mean, a lot of stuff. I tell people all the time. You know, go, if you have something, you know, for a Mustang or something, new engine component or something like that, send it to me. I'll try it. I'll test it. If it works, we'll co-brand it. We'll both make some money. If it doesn't work, then I'll put a little thank you in the box and send it back to you. You know,
Mhm.
it's just one of those things. But if you're not open-minded and you don't try new things, you know, you're never going to make it. So this is, you know, this company here has made it its whole time. I mean, that's what Carol was all about, was innovation, you know, trying something new, you know, just saying, yes, I can do it, and go out there to prove that you can do it. That's how this, you know, that's how we've always been. So we're going to continue to be that way. So yeah, we do have some neat electric projects coming up.
awesome. So what do you have in your garage? What's your daily driver? Tell me. I feel like you got like this stable of like 1,000 Shelbys, you know, in an airport hangar somewhere. I just
No, actually, I had to sell most of my Shelbys.
uh
Just because I had to, there was a Daytona coupe that was calling my name, so we had to get that. So I have
sell a
a,
couple to get one. I got it. I like it.
yeah, if you've been to the Heritage Center here, you saw a polished uh Daytona coupe in there. That's mine.
Oh wow.
So
Okay. I think I have
yeah,
pictures
so
of it.
anyway, yeah, do you?
I might. I'm gonna search my camera roll and I might have
You
it.
probably do, yeah.
Shiny.
So
It's just shiny chrome, right? Or
yep,
shiny.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, sorry, buffed aluminum.
Yep.
So the reason is so when I did the 2010, I had the prototype for that, and then 2012, I had the last of the series, the 350 series. I had that car. Sold both of those cars, and then had to get this car because Carol's car was number 2000, which was the first of the CSX numbers. This is CSX 9999. So it's the last 4-digit number. So Carol had the first
Wow.
car and I got the last. So you gotta, you know, it's priorities. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm
So
not
you
sending
gotta
my kids through college. I'm just gonna get another
just
car.
get another car.
It's
Yeah.
priorities. I'm just saying. I'm just doing what Vince told me to do, hon.
Yeah. So you're gonna be upset, but I drive a Jeep every day. So
Oh, that's all right. I
I'm an
mean,
incognito guy, but you got to know that I drive Shelby's a lot because I have, you know, I have 3 or 4 shop cars, you know what I mean? My
mhm.
race cars and my prototypes and those kind of things. So I'm always driving a Shelby somewhere. But the main thing is I'm a car guy, so I got a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
You know, I got everything from, you know, you said BMWs. Yes, I got one. BMWs to Volkswagens to, the Suburbans to, I think I got everything. I got probably about 16 cars, I think so.
Wow.
But it's one of those things that, I've always been into cars and I've got a problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, each car has a different personality, so it depends on what you feel like, and kind of what friend you want to hang out in.
Yeah,
the day you're going to
exactly.
work. So I get it. I mean, there's a twisted sense to it, but I totally understand.
Yeah, I drive my, I
okay.
got a, F-250. I drive that a lot, so it's just one of those things. I'm not a guy that has to be seen in something fancy. You know what I mean? I'm like I say, I'm a very down to earth guy, and I'm just, I need transportation, but you know what? Get me behind the wheel of one of these cars on the track and watch out. It's it's a lot of fun. We do a thing every year. We do a Shelby bash every year, and what we do is we get everybody that owns Shelby's and we invite them to a big party, and we throw a big party for 3-4 days. And we do everything from track events to scavenger hunts. We do a meet and greet night. We do kind of a cocktail night with comedians and those kind of things set up. And then we do a big banquet night where we get everybody together and, kind of give everybody the sneak peek of what's next, those kind of things. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a way to get to meet everybody and get to talk to everybody that owns a Shelby. And it's great for us because we can actually, I want to hear your negatives. I want to hear your positives. I want to hear everything, so, and this is a good way to do it. They're a little biased because they all own Shelby's, but I want to know, what's bad, or, what did we miss? It's fun. Here's an example. I'll just take a second to tell you a little story. So we're out at the track, and this is a few years ago, and the GT had just come out. The GT had been out just for a couple of years. I'm walking through the paddock. I got my suit on, I got my helmet. I'm walking down through the paddock, and I'm asking everybody how their cars are running for the day and everything. I get to this one guy with a GT and I ask him, I go, how do you like that car? It's one of my first cars I designed. So I go, how do you like the car? He goes, well, I don't know. He goes, I wish I would have bought the 500. And I'm all like, why is that? He says, well, I got to run in the slow groups. And I'm all, really? I go, is your car running okay? He goes, well, I think so. I go, do you mind if we go out on the track? I go, can I take it out? Can we go out together and I'll make sure your car's running okay, So he goes, it's the fast guys out there right now. He says, I don't know if we can get out there. I says, well, I know somebody. I said, they'll probably let me help. So we go out. I'm the last guy out on the line. So we let everybody go. Start driving this car, feeling it. Car feels good. It's nice, tight, feels good, everything like that. So I started getting into it. So towards the end of the session, we've already passed everybody. We're first. We come at the end of the section in first place. I go, your car feels like it's running just fine. He says, I had no idea my car would do that. And I said, yeah, I says, we put everything in your car to go out there and win races. I says, what the problem is, I says, is you're trying to overdrive your car. I says, take your time and learn your car. I says, I want you to listen to the tires. I want you to listen to the way the suspension is. I want you to listen to your engine. I want you to listen to all these things. And I explained to him everything that I wanted him to do. So about 2 years later, I saw him at the track and I went up to him and he got this big old smile. And I says, I see you still got your GT. He says, you didn't buy a 500 yet? He says, no way. I'll never buy a 500. He goes, this is the best car I ever owned. He says, I'm having so much fun. He goes, I'm in the fast group now. He said, he goes, I want to thank you so much for making me realize the potential of my car. So, I mean, stories like that just almost make you break up. You know what I mean? It's just, it's so neat to be able to give somebody something, to somebody, to be able to, where they could have so much enjoyment out of it and have so much fun, and, let them realize what it's all about. We actually we build a car. We don't, like we always say, we don't put wings and stickers and stripes on cars. That's not what we do. We build you a vehicle that can go out and will do good on the track. and we test the cars to make sure that they will do good on the track. And that's what's exciting about this company is I'm not selling you, a pipe dream. I'm selling you a product that actually works. So,
Well, you mentioned, 80% is just showing up as far as, potential employees or, people that want to join the team. But do you have any other advice for anyone who wants to break into the automotive industry?
yeah, my advice is be humble. You know what I mean? And I think that's the main thing. So when you go into a company, you'll go into dealerships, or you go into a company like ours or something like that. Come in with an open mind. A lot of guys have experience. A lot of guys will try to help you, and they do it in a roundabout way. And then you're always going to have the one guy that, you're never going to make it. You're going to, you're messing it up, or that kind of thing. Just, take your time. Don't judge everybody, and don't try to be the hero right off the bat. Take your time, learn your trade. Try to learn as much as you can from as many people as you can. Be that guy that stays late, and be that guy that gets there early. And you'll learn a lot of stuff. Keep your ears open. When people are talking about something, instead of saying, "Hey, I know how to do that," listen to the way they do it. They might have a better way to do it. This industry is changing daily, so you have to be up on everything. So most of my guys, if I tell them, "Hey, I need you to do this," well, I've never done that before. Well, I'm going to put you with this guy. You know what I mean? Well, you never hear in my shop, you'll never hear him say, "Well, that's not my job." You
Mm,
know, that's the biggest problem when somebody says, "Hey, I need you to go
it's
over
not
here
in
and
my
do."
job description.
It's not in my job description. That's a death sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great advice, and I love what you said before too about, learning something new every day and having that curiosity and that
Yeah,
humility that you don't know
yeah,
it all, and there's always more to learn, and to
yeah.
listen to others and see what other knowledge that you can attain. Vince, you gave us
Yeah.
some incredible wisdom today. We wanted to wrap this up just by asking, what is next for Shelby? And then, how can our listeners get more info on you and Shelby American?
Yeah, well, they can go to shelbyamerican.com or shelbyautos.com, anyone you want, or shelby.com. And it's got all the information of everything that goes on, where our location is. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're right on the strip, right down from Mandalay Bay. We got a nice heritage museum set up here with some of the older cars, some of the newer cars. We always have all the prototypes in there. Nice store. You can actually view the factory. We also do a tour. I think it's $60 for the tour, or $55, I think, for the tour. And you get about $65, $70 worth of a grab bag that you get.
Hmm.
Plus you get to go around and see everything, walk you around the museum, explain to you what all the cars are. They walk you around the factory outside, show you what's going on out there. So you kind of get to, be part of that. But it's a lot of fun. And if you just want to come in here and just check everything out, it's free to walk in. It's free to walk around the museum. Just come in, have a good time, ask questions. Everybody is, here to help you. They'll answer any questions you want. If you're real lucky, you can ask for me, and I'll walk out and walk you around a little bit. But it's a lot of fun. It's a family, and it's just and it's heritage. It's a lot of good history here.
Mhm.
As far as the future, like I say, during CES time, those kind of things, you're going to see a lot of neat things, a lot of new things from Shelby coming out. I'm already working on the 24, 25 cars. We've already got those mainly in the can. I start receiving parts for them here shortly. We've already been working on them for a year or so. I'm at the track every Thursday and Friday doing testing with the cars. You check online, you'll see spy shots and stuff of the new car. It's all wrapped up so you can't see it, but it's
Sure.
you see spy shots of us out there. So, and another thing I want to say is, if you ever hear of a Shelby event going to be in your area and a track in your area, make sure you go. It's free to get in. If it's a track event, we usually got cars there. Either me or Gary Patterson will be there. Just walk up to the trailer and tell them you want to go for a ride, and we go ahead and we throw you in the right-hand seat and go for a good ride. Things like, and it's a good ride. Daytona. When I run Daytona, I usually run with passengers in. I'll do about 135 in the corners. We'll hit about 160
Wow.
going down the straightaway. So it's a
Love
ride.
it.
It's not just a
Amazing.
You're
Love
not just
it.
going to go for a little putt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I always tell
Yeah.
everybody, I said, the louder you scream, the
Strap
faster.
in.
And the
It's
guys
phenomenal.
do yell louder than the girls a lot of times. So.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, Vince, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being
Yeah, it was awesome.
a guest on the Perception Podcast. We learned a ton, and I will
appreciate it.
definitely be coming out to Vegas to visit you with my son, because he already told me when we were on the AIGA Zoom, he's like, get in touch with Vince and you got to bring me there. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
fine.
You guys come on out. Like I say, I got a lot of testing to do this year. I'm just dialing suspensions right now.
Mhm.
So I still got motor to go and still got body to go. So there's a lot of testing. So if you come out on Thursday or Friday or something like that, come on out early in the week and get together, and maybe even Saturday we'll go out and do some laps.
That would be a treat. A huge treat for me and my son.
Yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate you being on the Perception Podcast, and best of luck to you and to Shelby. And we know that that company is going to be going strong into the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much,
All right,
Vince.
take care.
Alrighty. All right. Bye now.
And that wraps up another episode of the Perception Podcast. As always, send any questions and comments to ask@experienceperception.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
Sign up for our weekly newsletter on our site, experienceperception.com/contact. Lastly, if you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes and write a nice review. See you on the next episode.